All right, so I've recently turned 30 and I've generated millions of dollars through my marketing agency. And in this video, I wanted to pass down the 30 lessons that I've learned along the way, some of which are still daily reminders that I tell myself to this day to continue to drive forwards, drive growth, improve personally and professionally. So that is my hope from this video, that out of all of these lessons, there's at least a few that you can take away, if not a good amount, that are going to help you drive your growth in your personal life and in your agency itself. So with that in mind, let's dive right in. Number one is rabbits. This is a core saying I've told myself for a long time, and it's a man who chases two rabbits catches none. And I really believe this holds true because all of these lessons come from some sort of experience or failures. That's why they're lessons. And more importantly for this one in particular, there was probably a year period where I was trying to chase multiple businesses at the same time. I was even trying to trade crypto. And I mean, I was trying to trade crypto when I literally had no money, which is completely worthless in the first place. And it wasn't until after I spent a year messing around doing that, I realized how detrimental it was to the core thing that was actually making me money, which was my main agency. So with that being said, I cut everything out. And since I cut everything out, we were able to hockey stick growth the agency, make significantly more money. So now we have more money to actually play with in crypto, for example, that is going to be more significant. So if you're starting off, or even if you're still between this like 100, 200K a month mark, don't get excited and think you're the best business owner and start creating other businesses. Just knuckle down, keep your head down, and make the main thing until you are fully self-sufficient in that business. Number two is when everybody else zigs, you should zag. I know this is something you've probably heard before. I definitely had as well, but it does hold true because you don't want to be the same as everybody else, because then that doesn't make you different. That could be from your personal life, but more importantly, from business and from your agency. If you look the same, sound the same, smell the same, feel the same as every single other agency that, for example, your prospect has spoken to, then the only reason they're going to choose you is if they just happen to like you over the other person. But that doesn't differentiate you enough to actually sell and to grow fast. So when you go into any market, or if you're currently at your agency and you're plateauing, you need to look at what you're doing, what all of your competitors are doing, and ask yourself, am I zigging with them? Or am I zagging and doing something different? And this is how we were able to grow our agency really quickly, because we saw how everybody was doing things previously. So we came into the market with a new methodology, a new angle, and that was brand new in the market. So everyone kind of grasped onto that and was like, hey, this is new, this is shiny. And it wasn't just because you bring something new and shiny. The point is it still has to work, of course. And that could be as small as just your theories on how something works. So even if you are running the same service, whether it's Facebook ads or Google ads or conversion rate optimization on pages, at the end of the day, the stuff is still the same, but perhaps you have a different philosophy around why it works, or certain angles or ways you do messaging, or way you optimize stuff. Play into those points and make them key unique selling points. That's going to help you zag, sorry, when other people zig. So number three is you always want to position yourself as the premium option. You always want to charge premium pricing, because at the end of the day, the more money you make, the better service delivery you're going to have, because you're going to be able to hire better people. There's so many times where people try to be the cheaper guy to make extra money. But the problem is when you're cheap, you don't really make that much money, which means you have to decide, do you pay yourself that small amount of money you're making, or do you forfeit that to try and hire other people? And all of a sudden now you don't have enough money to spend on advertising, spend on marketing, and to grow the business. So there is absolutely no negative to being the premium option. I think perhaps Hormozy talks about this a lot and says you can either be two ends of the spectrum. You either have to be the cheapest and go for pure volume, or you need to be the most expensive and have the best team and the best operation. I'm going to opt for the most expensive every single time. And on top of that, when you do position yourself in a premium way and you charge more than your competitors, it also signals that to the marketplace that, hey, these guys are more serious. They do something different. And of course, when you're able to hire a better team and reinvest into the business more, of course, that's what's going to happen as well. So number four is master sales before hire. Actually, and go back into number three for a second. Part of what happened here for us is when we did start to charge a premium price, we started to close more clients as well. It was really weird. We went and like doubled our price. And after we doubled our price, our close rate increased. That's how much more seriously the right types of prospects take you as well. So there is something to be said about how when you want to influence the right types of prospects, being cheap actually pushes them away. Number four, you want to master sales before hiring. This was a big mistake I made when we were growing our agency. I got really excited because we had a ton of appointments on the calendar. We were filling up my calendar like crazy. I was taking 6, 7 sales calls a day. And then in the evenings and in the morning, I was doing the fulfillment, managing the team, whatnot. And I was like, all right, we've got loads of calls on the calendar. We're getting deals. This was still when we were charging, on the cheaper side. And we are like, okay, we're going to hire someone. I wasn't really that good at sales. I didn't know anything about sales leadership or sales processes or anything. I just had a ton of appointments on the calendar and I was closing people because we had a ton of appointments and we weren't really charging that much. So we hired someone, and like long story short, we hired them for 3 months. I think they closed like 2 or 3 clients that completely flopped. And I realized, okay, I'm not the person yet that deserves to lead and hire salespeople. So I took a bunch of sales courses, masterclasses, one-on-one training, spent a lot of money investing in getting better at the thing, getting better at sales. So when we did eventually hire salespeople, not only was I strong enough at sales that I could lead them and guide them and I could audit their calls, but they would also respect what I was saying because they could see that I'd actually walked the walk and not just talked the talk. So you need to get good at sales. Even if you're an introvert and you don't really like doing sales, if you're a business owner, unless you have a business partner that is like the extroverted sales guy, if you are a business owner, you have to become good at sales because if you can't sell your own services, your own products, how do you expect to teach or train or lead someone else to do that? It's just weird, in my opinion. So you don't have to be a master, like a literal top 1% in the world, but you have to be good enough. And you'll know when you are good enough because you'll be able to attract good talent and you'll be able to pay people well from helping them improve their sales. So number five goes in with sales is cash up front. This also goes with charging premium. Whenever you're doing sales, you don't want to charge, let's say you'd sell in a 3-month agreement. If you sell this 3-month agreement and you pitch it monthly pricing, there's no way you're really going to collect more than that first month. If anything, they might ask you to do like bi-weekly pricing. Now, it's really important that whether you do 2-month agreements, 3 months, 6 months, 12 months, you always want to pitch the painful upfront as the main amount. So if you're doing, let's just say 10K for 3 months instead of 3,300 a month, you should always pitch the offer as 10K because if you don't ask for more money, you're not going to make more money. So by asking the prospect for more money, more upfront, a percentage of them, maybe it's 10%, maybe it's 20%, will say yes to that amount, which means you've now just collected 3 months worth of revenue upfront now. And that's the goal in any business, is to push as much future cash forwards or pull it back, whichever way you want to say, to now so that you can use that money to reinvest into the business. Because if you have to wait 3 months for this 10 grand to come in, as opposed to getting that 10 grand now, you could roll that 10 grand back into ads to then close more clients. So you could either wait over 3 months to service that one client to get your 10 grand, or you could pitch the 10 grand in full, get a percentage of people that do that. Then you use that money to reinvest into ads. And over these next 3 months, you close 2, 3, 4 more clients from that. So always pitch the full amount, the pay in full up front. That doesn't mean that, of course, you can't split it up. If someone says, oh, how is that paid? Like, I can't do the 10K up front. Now you can have a conversation with them and figure out what's digestible for them to break down to be able to get them into the program, to get them into the service, right? And it's always a back and forth. Like, if we're going to break it up for you, are you able to get into the program today? You're doing people a favor by breaking it up. Number six, do what you don't want to. What I mean by this is, like, I still have this to this day, to be honest. I think everybody does, no matter what size of business you run, is there's always these things that you don't really want to do. You don't love doing. Maybe it's certain admin tasks, or maybe it's reviewing your CSM's customer calls and giving them feedback. There's going to be so many things that you don't enjoy doing. And that's okay, because most of the time, the things you know you need to do that you don't want to do are usually the things that are going to drive the most growth. So even to this day, sometimes I'll even find myself still, and again, this is why some of these are daily reminders, I'll still find myself sitting throughout the day, and then at the end of the day, I'll ask myself, what have I accomplished or what have I done? And yeah, I'll be able to list off a few things, some needle moving activities, but I'm like, man, that was a pretty long day. And it was just a lot of kind of fluff, and it felt like a lot of nothing. And that's because I was maybe finding other areas of opportunity to help with. I was like going out of my way to try and help other team members that didn't really need help, or I was messing around answering questions that didn't really need answering at that time. And in that current day, all I should have been doing was recording ads or looking at the marketing and figuring out how do we double ad spend, right? So do the things that you maybe don't want to do that are less attractive to you in that moment, because they're usually the things that, again, are going to drive growth. Number seven is every business sucks. Every business has certain things that you just hate about the business. So don't look at your niche, your service, your market, whatever it is, and be like, oh, this isn't going to work because of X. Like I have so many people say to me, like, oh, should I go into a different market because my TAM is small? You know, they've got TAM is a total addressable market, like how many people you can service. They might say like, oh, my TAM is, 10,000 people and I've got 20 clients. Like I feel like I've tapped into the whole market. I've ran ads to the whole market. I was like, brother, you have 20 clients. Like you could double your client base, double your revenue. It's still not going to make much of a difference to the TAM. So don't get caught up in thinking you're going to build you know, a Coca-Cola or something and you need this huge TAM to be able to sell to, because really you're just trying to grow an agency. And like most people, can barely get to 100 clients. It's like you can get 100 of any market if you actually try. Of course, granted, some's going to be easier, some's going to be harder, but it goes back to every business is going to suck because, the businesses that have a massive TAM, there's going to be problems with them. And then you're going to be like, oh man, maybe I should do something else because this TAM's too big. Maybe not, I can't hit people the same amount of times with my ads, so nobody's getting to know me because I'm not spending enough across the town, like whatever reason it is. So every business sucks. For us, when we started in our industry, there's a lot of contractors that are just cheap, bad mindsets, abusive, whatever it is. And like, man, I don't want to work with these people. But then you start to figure out how to attract the right types of people. And that doesn't mean we still don't get an awful lot of crap come through our funnel and have to sift through an awful lot of weird people, perhaps. But it doesn't mean that you can't make it work, because you're going to go into a different niche. You're going to find a problem you hate just as much, but it's going to be something different. Number 8 here is if you're under 100 grand a month in revenue, I don't care what you say. The only thing that matters is sales. You should just be purely focusing on driving revenue and blood flow into the business. Because if you're not generating 100 grand a month, you don't have enough momentum to make any bigger swings or devote enough time into operations. So many people that I know that like we grew our agencies at the same time, but they spent so much time faffing around with like the perfect client delivery, the perfect steps, the perfect operations, that they weren't even driving any sales, and they were just slowly churning people, trying to improve the product, but they weren't bringing in enough sales to negate that churn and grow. So they were just plateauing, and then eventually they lost momentum. So everything in business, you build as much momentum as humanly possible. You do that through sales. Once you get to 100 grand a month, you can start focusing on product, you can start hiring, etc., etc. Talking about hiring, you need to forecast your hires. I made this mistake a lot with CSMs, to be honest. I think we've got 4 customer success managers now at the agency, and we would have like a heavy, heavy growth spurt. We'd be hockey sticking with growth, and we'd be maxing out our current CSMs. We'd be handling way too many clients, and then we'd be like, okay, all right, now we need to hire for CSMs. But everybody knows if you want to hire properly, it's going to take a little bit of time to find the right person. So we spent some time hiring. Maybe it took 3 months to hire, 3 months to find the next person to bring to the role. Well, this is already 4 months too late, because the CSM that was currently managing the clients was already overloaded. So they were overloaded for too long. Then we started churning clients because they were overloaded. Then we bring on a CSM, and now they're not just like magically perfect from the time they get hired. Like they're going to take 2, 3 months to ramp up as well. And you need to pass clients over to them. So always forecast your hiring. You can do this in a Google sheet. Like in fairness, it's not really that difficult to do, but you just see like, okay, how many sales are we making every month? If we want to continue growing, if we want to continue increasing our ad spend, what's the trajectory of how many sales we're going to make? How many clients are we on average churning? How many, for example, this CSM case, how many clients can a CSM handle? Okay, once they get to 50 clients, let's say they can handle that many. So you look at when would they be handling 50 clients? 2, 3 months before that, that is when you start the hiring process to find the person, if not sooner, to be honest. You always need to be trying to forecast your hires, because nothing sucks more than knowing you could be making so much more money, growing so much, but you literally can't because you don't have the team in place to handle the clients. So you're just sitting there doing nothing. All right, so before we dive into number 10, obviously, like I said, every single one of these honestly could be its each individual video where we could dive a lot deeper. So if you do have any questions on these in particular, or you just have other questions in general about running an agency, I'll drop my Instagram in the description here. Go give me a follow, and even if you just want to connect in general, you're another agency owner, I'm happy to connect with people. And if you do have any questions, happy to dive deeper into any of these, or I'll make videos in the future on specific topics that you have. With that being said, number 10, stallions, camels, and donkeys. This is a great analogy from a mentor, Jeremy Haynes. And basically, you want to put each of your team members into a different bucket. They're either a donkey, they're a camel, or a stallion. It sounds kind of bad, but honestly, it's true. So as I explain this, go through and do this exercise, you have 3 different types of team members. Donkeys, when you have donkeys on a farm and they die, usually nobody gets that upset. They don't care too much about donkeys. The reason being is because they're just a pain in the ass, right? You have to whip them. They're just mules. You have to like really push them. They're not going to do what you say. You have to literally force them to do their job. And there's so many people that have team members like this and don't even realize it. So hopefully this helps. Is if you have people that really struggle to follow SOPs, you always have to keep on top of them. They're never really doing what they need to. They're likely a donkey. These are people you need to kill. You need to get them out of your organization because they don't just hurt your performance, but they're also going to hurt your culture, and it's also going to allow other people to think that that's how they can act as well. So next one you have is camels. Camels are extremely reliable. If you think about what camels do, they walk, hundreds of miles across the Sahara Desert, carrying a load of water. Camels are extremely good at what they do. They're extremely consistent. They're extremely reliable. But more importantly, they're only like that if they have good guidance and good leadership, right? So camels, these are usually a lot of the team members that hold up a lot of the company. They're the foundation of the company. These are people that do the service delivery or whatever it is. Most companies will have a lot of camels. These are dependable people that you love, that you rely on, that are great at what they do. As long as you have good guidance and good leadership, point them in the right direction. Instead of having to like whip their ass like a donkey to do it, they're going to follow your leadership and they're going to do a great job carrying that water across the Sahara Desert. Some camels can turn into stallions, not all of them. There's very rare, but in some cases it can. Stallions, these are the horses, these are the stallions. They just want an open field to run. Of course, good leadership, good guidance helps, but all they want is if you give them a big open field, they are just going to bolt. And they're going to run and they're going to do their thing, which means they're going to go and drive revenue, they drive retention, they're going to make you more money, they're going to lead your team, whatever it is. Stallions are your A players. These are the people that when you find them, you want to keep them, you want to nurture them. These are the people that are going to lead your company to greatness. So put everybody into these 3 buckets: stallions, camels, and donkeys. Kill the donkeys, focus on making the camel super reliable all the time, and push the stallions as far as you can go. With that being said, fire faster. So if you have any donkeys in your team and you've ever thought to yourself, what would happen if I fired this person? Oh man, this person's really annoying. I should probably fire them, or they're just not a good fit. You should have fired this person 3 months ago. So if you ever think that about somebody, you should have fired them 3 months ago. So if you're watching this, you should fire them right now. Doesn't matter what happens, you can go figure out to replace them. If there's someone like a donkey or you think you're going to fire them, it's probably not going to be that hard to replace in the first place if you're thinking about that. So always fire faster than you think you need to. With that being said, number 12, like I always get something called hiring butterflies, and I don't want to get this confused with being naive or being ignorant, right? Once you have enough experience with hiring, you start to figure out who is and isn't a good fit, and usually you can tell. So the way I can explain this is once you've had enough experience and you've hired enough people, and of course you need to go through hiring people to get to that point, you'll be on interviews and you'll start to get like these hiring butterflies. You'll start to be like, "Yeah, I don't know why, I feel really good about this person." You should follow these hiring butterflies as much as you can. They're some of the best decisions that I've made is trying to follow these hiring butterflies, but just make sure you don't get it confused with naivety or ignorance. Because I see so many guys that they'll interview someone and this person is just so good at interviewing. They can talk the talk, but it turns out they're actually just complete crap and they're complete garbage. So you only get to know that through experience, through asking harder questions and being able to kind of read between the lines. So one of these questions you can ask is number 13 is this has saved me so many times, and it's also helped me in retrospect realize in the past that I'd hired people that I never should have, that we got rid of because of this exact thing. Is you ask someone, how long have you been unhappy at your current role before you made a change? Now, in this instance, you don't ask it like this, but that's how I'm explaining it to you, is your goal is to figure out, say someone's in a current role and they've been there for 3 years. I want to know, they're interviewing with me today. I want to know how long ago did they first decide to start taking interviews? And before that point, where they drew the line in the sand to start taking interviews, how long have they been at their current role where they've been unhappy and it's been building up for them to want to take interviews? So let me explain. If someone's been at a role for 3 years and for the past year and a half, they've been unhappy at their role and they didn't really want to be there, and they've only started interviewing a month or 2 months ago, what the fuck are we doing? You're telling me you have been unhappy in your job on a daily basis in your life for a year or a year and a half, and only now, a year and a half later, have you taken any action to change your life? Like, I want to get rid of these people. I don't want anything to do with these people, because these are people that, if they imagine they're in your company, like imagine there's someone in your company that's been working with you for a year and a half and is unhappy, doesn't really want to be there, but doesn't have the guts to be uncomfortable or take action in their own life. So they just basically sit underperforming in your company or skating by. That not only affects the money you generate, but all of your team members generate for them and their families. And it also then destroys the culture as well. Even unspoken words destroys the culture because they can see how other people are. So if anybody really tells me that, they've been unhappy in their role for like more than 6 months ago, not even entertaining it, right? Like, good people are going to get hired quickly. This should be like I haven't really been happy for the past few months, given it a chance, hasn't worked out. I'm going to started interviewing a month or a couple months ago. Because remember, if someone's been interviewing for months and months and months, probably means they're not that valuable, because most people are going to get hired pretty quickly, which is why number 14 is always important to always be hiring, meaning always be running ads for your roles, whether it's Indeed, LinkedIn, Facebook ads, whatever it is. You should always have, even if it's $5 a day, like, I don't care. You don't need to be going like, full blown $1,000 a day going hiring if you don't need anybody, but you should be filling your hiring pipeline, because when you do need that person, when it comes time that you need a CSM, or like, oh crap, actually, you know, one of my team members had some tragic family incident and now like we need to hire someone in, unknowingly, you've got a pipeline of people to tap into. You're not being reactive and panicking. You're like already being proactive and you've got stuff in the pipeline. So always be hiring, always be running ads. Part of the reason you want to do that is because for number 15, you want to make room for A players. Now, A players, this is needle in a haystack. These are the unicorns. You can't magically run a hiring funnel and have like 50 A players come through. You're going to find a couple every now and again, maybe throughout every few months, throughout the year, right? So if you're not always running ads, if you're not always hiring, how do you expect these A players to stumble across you? Because it's a very small chance that this A player, John, happens to be looking for a job next week and is an absolute killer. And it just happens to be that you also need to hire for that role that same week. Like, you're trying to make the stars align. But what you want to do is you want to have people coming through your hiring pipeline, and you want to have like automations in place to qualify them, have, assistants go through it, whatever it is, go through applications, so that when you find these A players, even if you don't need someone right now, you want to be able to make room in the company for these A players, because if you find someone that you get these hiring butterflies about, that you know is going to be a great fit, don't pass on them just because we don't need them right now, right? That's a stupid mentality. You should be figuring out, how can we put them into the business and make room for them now? Whether that means you need to cut profit a little bit to put them in the room, in the seat for 3-4 months, and then in that time you've grown enough that they're ready to hit capacity. But you've got them now, because in 3-4 months time they're going to be in a different, better role, and they're not going to be interested in your role. Now you're going to have to find more people, right? So when you hire them, just make room for them, even if you know you don't need them right now. Even if it's uncomfortable, it's better to have A players that are slightly underutilized than nobody at all. So team dreams, what this means is, like, I want to be motivated by my team's dreams and what they want to do. Of course, I've got my own motivations, right? I've got my wife, I've got my newly born daughter. We've got our motivations and goals and what we want to do, what we want to accomplish. But it gets to a certain point, once you've made a certain amount of money, maybe you feel like you've reached the peak of the mountain. Now, by no means does that mean I have, or that you have. If you think that, there's always the new peak and the new summit to climb. But sometimes it helps to tap into like other motivations outside of selfishly yourself. And the team helps a lot with that. Like, talk to your team, understand, what do they want to do? Where do they want to go? Do they want to move house? Do they want to move to a different country? Do they want to support their family? If they got this goal or that goal or whatever they want to do, this personally fuels me to want to go bigger and know that the only way that I can get my team to do really good is I need their goals, their dreams to fit inside of our goal as a company and my goal, like personally. Because if their goals are bigger than the company goal or bigger than my goal, then we're not going to be able to help accommodate to get them to hit that goal. And it's also not realistic as well. So tap into your team's dreams, and help them become true. And usually that will help your own, growth as well. Number 17 is just take unreasonable action. I think Hormozi talks about this a lot, is just do such an unreasonable amount of volume that it's weird that you wouldn't hit your goal. Like, it's weird that you wouldn't be successful, right? Like, don't spend $20 a day on ads and expect to sign a client every week, right? Go spend $200 a day on ads and be more reasonable. Go spend $300-$400 a day on ads. Just like take unreasonable action. If you're cold calling, do more dials. Like, most of you guys probably already know this, but as you grow your business, it's not just a do more inputs. It's not just a spend more money on ads. It's not just a cold call more people. This might be unreasonable action. Like, man, I want one of my CSMs to ramp up way faster. Let's do a call review every day with them. Or like, my sales team aren't doing as good as they need to be. Okay, I'm going to review 2 calls of theirs a day, and we're going to do a role play every day, right? Like, what is the unreasonable amount of stuff that doesn't seem normal? Because that's just going to compress time and get you to the goal quicker. Number 18, I'm pretty big on this one. It's painful to see a lot of other people fail. This is, don't have any fake relationships with people, whether it's like your personal life, whether it's in business, whether it's trying to like take business partnerships. We have so many people, so many opportunities to have like business partnerships with people or collaborate with people. And like, if you truly don't align with someone, like if you truly don't see yourself being friends with them, like, don't fake it and put a smile on your face and try to be fake just to make some sort of friendship or business partnership because you know you're going to make a little bit of money off of it. Because like, you're going to feel that in your soul and you're going to feel that in your heart. And I would much rather stay true to yourself, your beliefs, your values, and surround yourself with the people that you actually like, care about, and respect, and have some integrity around, then be fake. Because if you're fake with other people, then you're just being fake with yourself as well. So don't take short-term dollars just to do some stupid bullshit relationships. Number 19 here is in-person events is huge. That was like one part that for me, I was working at my home for so long, didn't really go outside, didn't really do anything. And then I went to my first agency event, which was Agency Founders. I think it was in Nashville, one of Eddie's first events. And that opened my eyes to what's possible, not only because I got to, first of all, meet a bunch of people that I knew online, meet a bunch of mentors and whatnot as well, but you get to recognize that all those people in that room, they are no different to you. And like, honestly, some of them, like, to be really candid, some of them were making really good money compared to me at the time. And I honestly thought, who the fuck is that? Like, I would speak to them, I'd be like, this guy seems like an idiot. How the hell is this guy more successful than me? And it just goes back to our point here, is because he's likely just taken more unreasonable action than I am, and he's just trying harder, right? So in-person events, they're not only great for that because it opens your eyes to the world, that sounds so weird, but they allow you to actually build real relationships, because everything on Zoom, online, it's all just pixels on a screen. Nobody really cares about other people they've never really met. Even if you say you do, you don't truly care. You've never met them in person. But when you come away from these in-person events, not only do you get experiences, you learn a bunch of stuff, the biggest thing is you get to network and usually build a lot of friendships. And these friendships last years, and they're people you can call upon, or they can call upon you. Or when you do meet in a different country, or when you do decide to jump on Zoom, it's so much more, I guess, just deep, because like, you like actually know each other, right? There's like a better connection. So in-person events are huge. Like, I recommend, especially if you're early in your journey, do as many in-person events as you can. Surround yourself with killers, and even if you're a bigger company, you probably still know, it's like, go surround yourself. Like, do you feel way better when you're sat at home just working on the business? Or do you feel better when you're working on your business, but every few months you go to an event, you spend a weekend with a bunch of guys that are pushing you to go further, or you learn something different? It gets you more excited to continue driving. Number 20 is learn from others. This is like a core concept, even from if you're watching this video still, is you want to learn from others. But the caveat here, and this is what I've tried to do throughout these lessons, without going too deep, is when you learn from others' mistakes, you want to understand the context behind them, right? Because they might have made a mistake because of their experiences or inexperiences that are different to you, right? So they also might be more experienced in some areas. So when they tell you a lesson, let's just say they're telling you a lesson about something, but they're really, really good at sales, and they say, hey, I recommend you do this. That might be because they are killer at sales and you're absolutely terrible. And it only works for them. That lesson only applies and works for them and helps them grow because they are really experienced at sales and you are not. So make sure that when you do take tips, advice, tricks, lessons, even from this video, and again, if you have questions on any of these in particular and you want more context to help delineate if this is helpful for you, message me on Instagram, learn from others and understand the context as to why, because the context is going to help you defer to if this is appropriate to you and your situation, if there's something you perhaps don't know that you need to know as well. Number 21, this is huge. We're one of the first people to start doing this in the agency space, at least from what I saw. Obviously not taking credit for anybody. There's hundreds of thousands of agencies, but like in our little social circle group of agencies, we took our team on team trips. And the first time we flew all of our team out to Mexico, it's a weird coincidence that we started to hockey stick growth after our entire team actually met each other for a week in Mexico. Now, this doesn't mean that, you have to fly your team out every few months. It's like, even if it's once a year, the investment into getting your team to meet each other is going to have a much greater ROI than you taking that 20, 30 grand and going and buying a new watch, right? Because your team up to this point, and it's so hard to recognize until you've done it, everyone on your team, again, are just pixels on a screen. They're just talking to people in a chat and they see pixels on a screen on Zoom. They're not real people, right? They don't really have real relationships. They don't have friendships. They don't really have that many inside jokes. You going out of your way to bring everybody together. Even if you've got teams on different sides of the world, if you've got, we don't hire people in the Philippines, but on that side of the world, but if you've got team on that side of the world, go you yourself travel over there and do a little team trip with them. And then if you've got like American team or South American team, go do a team trip with them as well. Even if it's a weekend, bring people out. One, they're going to really appreciate it because most of your team probably are never going to be able to afford the type of trip that you could give them and the experiences you could give them. So it's fucking amazing for them. It's amazing for them. But more importantly, all of your team get to meet, have banter, they get to build culture, they have these inside jokes. Now, when they go back to work, they have some friends, they have better relationships. More importantly, their performance is going to increase because they are now working and having accountability towards their team that now they actually care about because they're looking forward to the next team trip. They're looking forward again to go out to whatever country and meet John and chat about everything and catch up. So team trips, huge investment. We did this way too soon. I think we did our first team trip when we were doing like 40 grand a month. And I think our first team trip cost like 20 grand or something. But again, like I wasn't paying myself much at the time and I didn't really care about buying the next watch. So I was like, let's do this. Let's bring everybody together. Huge culture shift. This goes in line with number 22, which is be allergic to money. Now, I made this mistake. I was really good at being allergic to money at the start. And I'm now having to relearn to be even more allergic to money since we've grown, because here's the point, is when you start and when you're smaller, even if you're under like 150 grand a month, I'd still consider that pretty small. You make a decent amount of money and you just start pocketing it. I see guys that are doing 100 grand a month and they've bought the 50K watch and they've got the Lamborghini Aventador, and it's like, what the fuck are you doing? Like, you haven't made it. Like, you've barely got started. And you're acting as if you're like the king of the castle, which is weird. Like, if you want to grow fast, all the money you have, the best investment you can make is putting it back out there into the world, rotating it back into other people's pockets, know you're going to get more of a return. Whether that is in-person events, like I said, or team trips, or investing in coaches or mentors. There was a point in time where I was literally not paying myself any money, and anything we made, I was just figuring out who the fuck could I give it to so that if I gave them $10, I know I would make back $50 in 3-4 months' time. So just be allergic to money. When you see money in your bank account, be like, oh, get it away. Especially if you're in any countries that have to pay a lot of tax. You make that money and keep it, you have to pay tax on it. I'd much rather just go and invest it and, make 5-10x that back in 6 months' time. Leaving your hometown, huge. I think a lot of people know this, but this matters. This matters a lot because you're so comfortable in your hometown, where you grow up, with your same school friends, your family, the same things, the same jokes, the same places you go to, the same people you see when you go out to a restaurant or whatever it is. This keeps you comfortable because you know the environment. And when you're in a place that you already know, it doesn't spark any creative thinking. It also doesn't apply any stress or pressure for you to grow or learn new things. And I'm not talking about like learning weird, new, wonderful things. I just mean that you need to put yourself in a place of being uncomfortable. And when I left my hometown and I moved to Dubai, that was the biggest amount of growth that I had by far, because it puts you in a new environment. You know, a lot of people, they go to Dubai or they go to Miami, or you know, a lot of people are going to Arizona as well. It doesn't matter where, you know, Bali, Medellin, whatever it is, just put yourself somewhere different. Surround yourself with other people that are growing. It's going to pay dividends. With that being said, the same thing is 24 spend on experiences. Again, you know, the guy that's making 50, 100 grand a month, buying an Aventador and 50 grand watches and whatever it is, it's like, even if you like the materialistic stuff, you know that that materialistic stuff is going to come later in life. It will. I promise you it will. At the start, you should be spending on as many experiences as you can, because experiences are memories. And pardon me, experiences and memories, and experiences also, again, put different stress and pressure and learnings on you to grow. So at the start, I just started traveling. Went to so many different countries with different people, with friends, went to Dubai, started traveling around in South America, and all of this stuff. Not only does it give you more memories, it gives you more excitement for life. Like if you buy the watch, yeah, you're excited when you see it. You get the car, you're excited when you drive it. But going and living in Mexico for 2 months, nothing's gonna change your mindset more than living in a different country and enjoying every second of your day, right? When you drive the car, it's just cool when you drive it. When you live in new countries or experience different stuff, it's a different feeling. So again, doesn't mean you can't buy this stuff. I think Ty Lopez spoke about this actually, thinking about it. I think this is where I heard it from, is spend on experiences. And experiences can be in-person events, right? Like make an excuse to go to whatever country because Jimmy Bob's hosting an agency event. Great. Go spend 10 grand on that instead of the watch. You're going to love it more. All right, number 25 is avoid all vices. There's so many guys that I grew up with, so many agency owners, so many people I know that like I've happened to just outgrow. And it's not for any in particular reason that I'm like wildly more successful or smarter than them, because I honestly don't think I'm doing as good as I should be. But you see the difference in that every few days they're going out drinking, they're going to the pub, they're going to the bar, they're going to the clubs, they're going partying, they're smoking weed or they're doing drugs or whatever it is. It's like all of these vices just hold you back. Even if you say to yourself, "Oh, but I know, you know, I know John and he's making a million a month and he parties every weekend," or whatever it is. Good for them. That just means they are really fucking good at what they're doing. And they are missing out on so much potential of clarity of mind and growth, because when you do all of this stuff, whether it's partying, drinking, drugs, porn, Netflix, whatever it is, all it does is it messes with you. It makes you weaker. It doesn't allow you to have clear thinking. It doesn't allow you to have clear conversations in your head. And it doesn't give you confidence or conviction in what you're doing. So like even if you're successful and you're still doing all this stuff, all you're doing is you're hurting the potential growth that you could be and the potential person that you could be. Especially when you're starting, if you're early in your journey. Again, if you're like under 100K a month and you're early in your journey, like this is the stuff that can change your life. It can change your life. This rolls into number 26. Number 26, that's stay clean, right? And like by no means am I the healthiest, fittest person. Like I don't claim to be. Like I try, and you know, with a wife and a newborn and a business going on, sometimes it's hard to juggle everything and you know not get a workout in every day, for example. But you want to make sure that you stay clean, even just from a perspective of your food. I mean, like don't eat pizza all the time. Don't eat all that shit. And I know this is the woo woo stuff that you maybe don't want to hear, but I promise you, if you don't drink, smoke, do parties, don't eat like shit, just don't do any stupid, don't watch TV all the time, for 6 months, you'll be a completely different person. Not meaning you go and do other stuff. Just if you don't do that, but just live your life, like grow your agency. After 6 months, once everything is clean out of your body, you will recognize there is a shift in your mind. There is so much more clarity. I can't explain it. You kind of have to experience it. I think Alex Becker talked about this once before as well. Like you generally become a different person, and you can see into other people's eyes, and you can see, it's almost like you've got a sixth sense. You feel like you can see their fears, you can see their vices, their worries, the things they're struggling with, because once you are very clean from all of this stuff, it's very easy to notice what other people are struggling with when you don't have these weird internal struggles as much. So number 27, again, these are getting kind of philosophical at the end here, but your business growth comes from your personal growth. It truly does. Like, you don't see like a complete idiot that has no routine, no boundaries, no consistency, managing and running this amazing business and this amazing team. Because also your team is also a reflection of you. So if your team's completely like shit, it's probably because you're not respectable enough to build a good enough team, right? The guy that is an A player, that is a killer, that looks after himself, that has a great life, that does all this stuff, is probably not going to look to you and respect you if you're doing all this random bullshit as well. So anytime you're struggling in your business, it's 100%, no matter what role it is, it's because of you, because you haven't learned that skill set, you haven't developed yourself enough, you haven't dove into that area of your life to become more confident, to have more conviction in your questions, in your answers, in the directions you want to take, in your thoughts, in your ideas. This all comes from personal growth, right? The more you grow, the more your business is going to grow with you. Number 28 is that nobody honestly gives a shit. You know, it's kind of part of the reason why I'm recording this video as well. I've put off growing a personal brand for so long, is like, nobody cares, man. Like, nobody cares about you. When you say like, oh, I don't want to do this because Jimmy's going to think this, or I'm worried about Sarah's going to think that, or John's going to do this, it's like, nobody gives a shit, right? When you're walking down the street, how many people do you remember from yesterday when you're walking down the street? The likelihood is none of them, because everyone's got their own lives. They've got their own worries. They've got their own businesses, their own family, their own kids, their own pets, their own this and that to worry about. That nobody's thinking about you or cares about you as deeply as you think about yourself. So just do the things that are going to be beneficial for yourself, and don't worry about other people. Number 29, coming up to the end here, is if you don't have something yet, it's probably because you don't deserve it. And that's a harder pill to swallow, and it's something that I had to recognize, especially over this past year, as I was really forced in growth and pushing growth a lot in personal life and business life, is if you don't have something, it's just because you don't deserve it yet. And no matter how much you think, oh, why don't I have this? I want this. Like, oh, why isn't my agency doing as good as Jim or whatever it is? It's because you don't deserve it. Because you're not the person that deserves to have this. You're not the person that deserves to lead that agency, to lead that business, to be able to have that relationship, whatever it is. So if you don't deserve something, then all you need to do is you need to go back and drown yourself in personal development. Drown yourself in character building. Go travel to different countries. Put yourself in odd different situations. Go and meet different people. Drown yourself in so much character development. Leave everything from your hometown. Be uncomfortable, so that when you come out that other side, when you know, you swim back to shore after being drowned in self-development, you swim back to shore, that thing you deserve, that thing you want so deeply, is waiting there on the beach for you, as if it's not a big deal. Because once you already deserve something, it's almost like doing a bunch of side quests in a video game. You know, once you play a video game, you do like 10, 20 side quests and you go back to the main mission, and the main mission's really easy. That's character development. That's skill set development. Whatever it is that you need to grow, is go do these side quests, get really good at this stuff, develop yourself, like be better socially, whatever it is. When you go back to the main mission, all of a sudden the main mission's really easy. And then you're going to hit a point where the main mission gets hard again. Guess what? Go figure out character development again. Go make some massive investments in mentors. Go travel to some different countries. So lastly, number 30, and I hope this has been helpful for at least some of you guys, right? There should be something in here that you can take away and go make a couple $100,000 more from, is you need to enact an immense amount of urgency into every decision, everything you do in your life. Because on the other side of taking action and putting some urgency into your life is the thing that you want, is the thing that you deserve. You can take 3 years if you want to figure out how to be more sociable. But you can take 3 years if you want to finally learn to get better at sales. You can take 3 years to become a better leader and be able to manage the 50-person team that you're kind of like worried about. Or you can just figure out how to go through so much development that you do it in a month and do it in 2 months. So with any of these points here, just ask yourself, like, am I moving as quickly as I want? And there's nothing wrong. Don't get me wrong. There is nothing wrong with being patient, because if you have goals on a longer time horizon, you're usually going to hit them. If you push your goals too soon, you're going to be disappointed. But that doesn't mean you can't act as fast as fucking humanly possible to get to your goals, because why wouldn't you? You literally only have one life. You have one chance. All of this like mumbo jumbo, woo woo, motivational crap is literally true. These people that work at their jobs for a year and a half, unhappy and uncomfortable before they make a change, they're not enacting immense urgency into their life, which means you shouldn't hire them, right? The donkeys that are on your team that aren't doing the SOPs, aren't following the tasks, that aren't trying to improve stuff, they're enacting no urgency into your business and the opportunity for them to grow in your business. Just get rid of them, right? This doesn't just go for you. You should be able to see other people move quickly, have high expectations of other people, have high expectations of yourself. Now, I hope this has been helpful. This is probably way longer than I expected it to be. To be honest, I have no idea how long this has been. But if you're watching until the end, I appreciate you watching until the end. Just follow me on Instagram. Drop me a message if you've got any questions. I want to connect with you guys anyway. I'd love to hear what you want to hear or see more videos on, because we can deep dive into specific topics about growing your agency and making multiple millions of dollars through growing your agency. So hope this has been helpful, and I'll see you on the next one perhaps.